Project 7, Memo Block Holder, Introduction to 3D Printing. Hi, Joe Cerrone. Today we're going to go through and model this memo pad holder. It's taken from our 3D Printing Projects book, Memo Block Holder. And essentially, the way this textbook works is that we're going to go through and model this according to the dimensions. The tools that they're using are SketchUp and NetFab and this guitarless STL exporter, but we can do most of the work in AutoCAD and our slicing software, Dremel, DigiSlicer, or Cura. He's estimating 33 minutes with a 0.4mm layer height on an up 3D printer. We'll be using a Dremel 3D45. Modeling difficulty, not too bad. 3D printing, not too bad. So here's our object. It's 88mm by 88mm, and it's got this hole in the middle of it. And basically what we'll do is we'll draw a square and we'll extrude it, and then what we'll do is we'll use the fillet command in solids. Okay, and so we'll use the 3D interface to access that command, and we'll put this little radius on the bottom of it right here. And then I thought it would be kind of neat to put our name on it, or to at least put something on there so that we know whose it is. And so I put Oakton College on here, but you're welcome to put your name or anything else that you want. They make great gifts, so you could always get one printed out for Mother's Day. Alright, so let's get started. I'm going to go and get a new template from the D2L system. And so in D2L, I have an area called Title Blocks, and I'm going to download the B-size metric title block because these units are in millimeters, and when you bring them into the slicer, if you use inches, it will be real tiny. So we'll open that up, and here's our metric template, and then we'll go to model space, and I'm going to get rid of the grid. I'm going to switch the layer over to the object layer, and then I'm going to draw the object. So I'll draw a line, 88, and you want it to track, so I've got polar tracking enabled, and you can tell by that green line that kind of juts out. Polar tracking is right here. It's on, it's blue, and I'll type C for close. And then what I'm going to do with this is, if you extrude this object as a line, what happens is you'll get a wireframe, and wireframes are not able to be 3D printed. And so what I mean by that is, if I come over here and I say extrude and I click on this line and then I pull that up and I look at that, quick properties, it's a surface, and a surface is not 3D printable. It's like an eggshell. So I'm going to delete that, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to poly edit and join, p-edit, and so I'll select a line. Do you want to turn it into a polyline? Yes. Join, and we'll put a box around these. Hit enter. I'm going to go back to a top view. There's some space junk, that's why it's keeping it small. And then I'm going to offset that. Let's take a look at our measurement. Five millimeters. And then I'm going to offset this one 20 millimeters. And that'll work out based on those dimensions. Okay, so we've got the geometry created, and the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create a layer for 3D. So we'll say layer properties, new layer, and we'll just leave it at layer 1, and I'll just change the color, something like that. Maybe I'll go with something a little greenish. and we'll make that layer current. We'll take an isometric view, and I'm going to get out of, well, I'll leave it in realistic. Conceptual will be okay too. I like conceptual, it's a little bit more cartoonish. And then we're going to use the extrude command because it's the most efficient way to draw this. And so what we'll do is we'll say extrude, and what we're going to do is we're going to extrude these. We're going to do the outside 10 millimeters, and then the inside we're going to bring that down 2 millimeters, and then this one we're going to go through. And so we'll be able to use extrude for the first one, and then we'll be able to use press pull for the other two. So extrude, we're on this layer 1, so it should come out kind of green. And then it says select the object, so we'll select it, hit enter, and then we're going to push that down and we're going to say 10. And then what we're going to do next is to press pull these other two shapes. And the easiest way to do it is press pull the center one through first and then do the other one. And so that's what we'll do. We'll say press pull, click in the middle of it, push it all the way through, click, and it's intelligent. It understands that it needs a Boolean operation when we take a solid through another solid. So when we click here to press pull this down 2, it kind of runs this macro, and so press pull is like the latest, bestest way to go through and create this model. It does leave the geometry here, so I'm going to just delete that. I don't need it anymore. The other blue line that's here at the edge, I'll get it later. Alright, so that's how to do the modeling part of the basic shape. And then if we go to solid and we go to fillet edge, what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the radius for 5, and then I'm going to click on this edge right here. I'm going to hit enter twice, once, twice, and then I'm going to hold the shift key, middle mouse wheel, and rotate that. And I'm going to do it again. Fillet. Since the radius is programmed, it's modal. It remembers the last radial measurement, so I don't have to go and put 5 millimeters in there again. And so I'll select that, and then I'll hit enter twice. Once, twice. Alright, and so that is the basic shape of it. We want to put our name on it. And so to be able to do that, we need to be able to put some text on the side of it here. And so I'm going to go back to the Home tab. I'm going to change the layer to the text layer. And if I try to put in the text right now, and we're going to use dtext, I'm going to type in dtext. Alright, text is under the draw command, I believe. Draw text. Single line. We want to use single line because it has more control. And so it wants to know where to start. Now, it might just let me put it right here and tell it that I want a height of 5 millimeters, rotation angle 0, and I can type in Oakton College. Enter twice. And then I'm just going to take a look at this to get the setup correct. Take it out of conceptual, 2D wireframe, shift middle mouse wheel, and I'm just going to put it to the center. This is just a memo block holder. Certainly if we were going to go into production on it, we would need to be a little bit more precise as far as the view. If I go to a front view, you can see the word Oakton College, and then we can see where the hole goes through it. And I'll just move the text with the move command until it looks about right. And I'll move it down slightly too. It's a little high. Okay, now it still thinks it's text. It's a font because it is text. And so what we need to do is to use these express tools. Now, in order to use the express tools, we have to be in plan view. And so we might be able to do it based on the way the 3D is by saying PLAN, enter twice. And yes, when we're working in a 3D interface, if we were able to tag that surface and put the sketch on it, it goes right to the plan view of that. Then we can go to the express text, and we can go and we can say explode text and click on Oakton College, hit enter, and then you'll notice the geometry has changed. And so what it does is it converts text into vector data, and then that vector data can be used to model our memo block holder. And so shift middle mouse wheel, that's what I was afraid of. So I didn't get it on the surface. So this is probably a good lesson for me. Rather than redo this whole video, I'm just going to show another technique on it. So getting back to, we'll just delete that. Getting back to our model, what I needed to do here was to put a 3-point UCS on. And so here's a 3-point UCS. You could type in the UCS command, and that way I make sure that it's not floating out here in space like it was before. And so what I'll do is I'll say 3-point, and I'll go origin, and then I drive it straight up. You can, say perpendicular to that if you want. It's not a bad idea. And then we can drive it this way. And I did it backwards. I should have done the x-axis first. So let me do it again. 3-point, origin, x-axis, because text will go along the x-axis. And then y-axis, perpendicular. And so I just want to make sure that the axes line up with the face of the memo block holder. Then I can go through and I can put the text in. So I can come over here and I can say draw text, single line, and I can say, oh, like right here looks good. Text height 5, and we'll say Oakton College. Enter twice, once for the second line. We don't have anything to put on a second line. Second time we'll fix that, finish the command. We'll move that over. And I'm just going to check it because I'll get all obsessive compulsive and want those letters to be perfect. Not too bad. Really pretty close to be in the center. So here's the hole that goes through it. Got about a letter and a half off of each one of them. Alright, and so to be able to use the bonus tools, the express tools, to explode that, if I try to explode the text right now and click on it, I should get an error because I'm not in plan mode. And so it says view needs to be in plan, 0,01. And this is X, Y, and Z coordinates. And so you type in plan here. And plan is the XY axis. And since I put this 3-point UCS on the side of the part, this is our plan view. Now I can go to Express Tools, Text, and I can explode the text. Hopefully, yes, it's on the part. And then what we'll do is we'll just press pull these. You could just grab them all and extrude them and then use subtract. It might actually be faster. But if you want to press pull them, you can click on it, push it into the part, and we'll say 2. And we can do the same thing here. 2. If you want to verify that it's actually removing the material, you can go to conceptual. You can see it's been removed. I'm going to undo that and see if I can do it all in one shot. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to say extrude, and then I'm going to select all of them. I'll hit enter to end the selection set, and then I'll push it that way, and I'll say 5. Hopefully it goes the right direction. I think it did. It's kind of goofing around. Say -2. And let's verify this. Well, looks like I pushed it instead of pulled it. Well, I think you get the idea. You can certainly go the other way with it. I kind of like that. It looks kind of cool, but the problem with it is if I try to 3D print it, it's going to want some support material because it's not going to be able to just print over the edges. And so a lot of times when we do this, what we'll do is we'll bring it into 3D Builder and do the letters individually. And we'll subtract them out and then print the letters with a different color and put them in. It's a very nice technique. So I'm going to undo that. And I'm going to try it again. And I'm going to say extrude. Enter. And it doesn't look like the negative value is the right direction. So I'm just going to say 2. And that time it worked. Okay, now it doesn't subtract it when you use extrude, and so that's why press pull is more popular, because it does some of your work for you. So we're going to subtract that. We're going to go back to 2D wireframe, and we're going to say subtract, and then we'll select all these letters. And if you accidentally select something, you can shift click on it, and shift click will remove it, and then you can click it again if you want to add it. So the selection set is additive. It actually says 1 found, 22 total. And so we can just continue to add. And another good thing about using different colors is you can actually see if you miss something. And so that completes the selection set. We hit enter. And I believe it did it. So let's go to conceptual, or subtract. Need to select the large piece first, then enter, then the parts to be subtracted. And it's a little hard with this conceptual. Looks like I can get some of it, so I'll just do the O to start off with. See what happens there. Pretty good. But if we go to wireframe, then we can subtract. And actually, I'm going to select the large piece, hit enter, and then I'll do this again. Enter. I changed it to green, so it definitely worked. All right. Lastly, we'll save it. File, save as. And we're going to save the projects with project numbers, and so I'll save this with my initials. Use your own initials, and we'll say project 7. We'll save that as an AutoCAD file, and you can dial it back to an earlier version if you need to. We'll hit save. And then we'll export that as an STL file. So we'll go up to the big red A, we'll go to export, other file formats. I have no idea why they didn't put STL here in the list in the 2020 version. It should say for 3D printing, but it's always something, right? This will be exported as an STL file. It'll be the name of the same file. So I'll say save. I'll select the file. I'll hit enter. And then I can bring that into the slicing software. So that completes the modeling aspect of the memo holder for Project 7.